So Ken and we connected indirectly through Jesse Itzler, and I guess you did one of his crazy races that I only see on the internet. What was it? The Everest one? Was that the one you jumped in?
Yep. I did the 29029 event in Utah. Mark Hodelick is reached out via my friend Rob Moore, who does some of the PR work for those guys, and I was incredibly grateful and happy to be part of it. And to be honest with you, I went there. I tell these guys this story all the time. I have done the Ironman in Hawaii 3 times. I've run somewhat competitively for over 40. I ran a 233 and 234 marathons the last 2 times out, and last 2 races I've done. And so I consider myself somewhat competitive. So I just figured, oh, it's a hiking event and it's not a race. I'm just going to storm up and down the mountain until I get to 29,000 feet. It'll be a non-event and it'll just be fun to spend some time with some buddies. Well, after 3 or 4 times up the up the mountain, I was like, dude, I better eat something. I mean, I'm gonna faint. This is serious. It's not as obviously as intense as a marathon or an Ironman, meaning it's not redlining for 8 or 9 hours, but it was a hell of a lot of work, and it was much more difficult than I could have ever imagined. That being said, it wasn't something that, it's like any physical goal. You're just like, okay, that's in front of me. I'm just going to keep going until it's done, or until I can't go anymore, which, happened to more than a few people at this event. It is not easy, but it was probably one of the most rewarding athletic events I've participated in the last several years, just because there were so many good people and it was such a diverse group. It was diverse from a socioeconomic stance. It was diverse from certainly from an athletic standpoint. There were people there who were just hoping to make it up the mountain once, and basically you had to walk up and down this mountain. I want to say 13 times to get to a total of 29,029 feet, the equivalent of hiking to the top of Everest. And you'd hike up, take the gondola down. But the most I don't know, impactful part of that whole event was the people that were there. They were just incredible people. I mean, people like yourself that I met, a lot of guys like you that are just doing such an eclectic group of professionals. I work in finance and tend to be around only other finance people, except for maybe when I'm doing endurance events. But even those, they're solitary endeavors. There's a lot of people that help you with your training and stuff. But on race day, it's just you. And at this event, it was a real sense of community, in that people were very encouraging towards each other. And it was, like I said, such a diverse group, from people just hoping to complete, and people that were hoping to be competitive and go as fast as they can. And Kevin the cop was out there setting the pace. One of Jesse's friends, who I think is a cop on Long Island, was out there smashing up and down this hill. And we Rob Moore, and my friend Justin Dare, who's a professional triathlete, were there, along with 2 Olympic triathletes, Greg Billington and Joe Malloy. And so it was clear that Kevin and Greg Billington were miles ahead of everyone, but they went out purposely to try to see who could get up and down the fastest. Me, Rob, and Justin Dare just kind of did it to complete it and enjoy the process. And so with a few laps to go, we finally pulled Greg Billington aside as the triathlon representative. And I was like, dude, you cannot let this civilian beat us. It's on you now. You're the only one close enough to catch him. You have to go. And he literally put on running shoes. I can't stress you how steep this thing was. It was 2 miles and 2,500 feet, something like that. But it was basically hiking up the side of up a ski run. So Greg went in and put on his sneakers and started just smashing up and down the hill. And he beat Kevin maybe by half a lap, but not by much. So I had to tell Kevin that story afterwards, how incredibly impressed I was with his performance, given that Greg is an elite Olympic athlete, 2 years removed from Rio Games, and he had to basically redline it for the last 2 or 3 laps to keep up with this guy who's and Kevin is probably, I'm guessing, early to mid 40s, and a cop. he's not on the same athletic or not putting in the same kind of time that an Olympic triathlete was putting in terms of training. So shout out to Kevin the Cop for raising the bar there.
I think he's the same Kevin as that inspired Jesse's Kevin's rule, which is schedule trips with your buddies, which I'm a big proponent of and trying to get my friends to do. So this Kevin sounds like a superstar.
Oh, just a super nice guy. I actually raced him again. Well, actually, that time I was just participating, but I raced him Jesse had an event at his house this winter called Hell on the Hill, which is basically 100 times up and down this 80-yard hill in his backyard that goes down to a lake. But again, it's like, I don't know what the grade is, maybe like 20%, 30% grade, which is incredibly steep. And you basically run up and down it 100 times in a circle. And I just went out there like, you know what, last time I did that mountain climbing event, I was in completer mode versus competer. So this time I was like, you know what, I'm going to race this one. And I know Kevin's going to go out hard too. So I'll kind of get an idea of how hard I need to go from him after the first few laps. And my God, when I finished that thing, I literally thought I was going to have to call an EMT. I was supposed to call out for a medic when I finished. It was hellacious. And even with going as hard as I could the whole time, it was in the middle of January and I wasn't really training for anything per se other than life. So I wasn't in like top shape, but even still, I went hard and I still was about 2 or 3 minutes off Kevin's record from a previous year that he had done it in the summer, which was probably a little hotter in the heat. But yeah, Kevin is an inspirational dude and a really good dude. All of those guys are great, man. Jesse and his whole crew, he surrounds himself with really good people. I can't stress that enough, how enjoyable any event that he puts on. It's like professionally produced, and everyone there is genuinely kind and nice. It's a real refreshing event anytime you can participate with those guys.